Hello and welcome to Global Morning this beautiful Saturday. I hope you're having an amazing weekend, just as I am having here. It's looking blue for me. I call it blue. You know, when you have something exciting, beautiful to talk about. I'll tell you about it. My name is Anita Patrick. Welcome to Global Morning, where we bring you amazing discussions and topical issues happening around the world to your doorsteps on your screen. I have my co-host with me in the studio in person of Mukhtar Kasim. It's good to see you.
Annie, good morning. Looking beautiful and sharp as always. I like the color combination.
As I said, I'm feeling blue.
And then the accessories are to match the silver watch.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful morning. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
And I'm sure you're having a beautiful start to the weekend.
You know what it is. We'll talk about it.
I hope all our viewers are also in good shape this morning.
Yes, I hope you're having an amazing day as a startup for you today. But of course, it's Global Morning, and we have a lot lined up for you. Discussions you won't want to miss at all. Talking about food infrastructure. Let me look at one.
When you said food, I was thinking of physical food, but now you're saying infrastructure.
No, food infrastructure, where we talk about how the stomach can be taken care of, what's happening, because that's the major focus of Nigerians, the world, basically. If you have food on your table and you have shelter, you're good to go.
You're good to go.
You're good to go. So we're looking at those areas, and we're looking at where it has to do with leadership, governance of the people, the reach out to the grassroots, and how developmental plans are put in place for the people. Basically, that's what we want our audience to see.
Of course, food security has been something that has been on the front burner of this particular government. The minister in particular, I know, is someone who has been talking about how Nigeria needs to be a food secure nation. And even before this government, the previous government have said that. So the prayer for me, and I think the generality of Nigerians, is to see a time in no distant time where Nigeria would be a food secure nation, not only for our own self, so much so that we might be even taken to outside the country, and it generates revenue here at home to diversify our economy.
Of course, the economy needs to stand tall if we want to make more money. Well, that's part of the discussion, of all the things we'll bring into you. But let's quickly start on the note of the dailies. Let's tell you what's happening on the front cover of the newspaper. We'll take that after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's quickly start with stories making the headlines on our different papers. We have The Nation, we have Vanguard, Daily Independent, The Saturday Sun, and of course Daily Trust paper lined up for you. But let's quickly start our focus with The Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper leads with the front page cover, boldly reads in there. It says, PDP factions race against time as reconciliation flatters. We have the writer that says, Wike-backed NCC sets no-go areas, insist on its congresses. Then you have the other one that says, we are aware of pressure from election timetable to Reki Group speaking. So we have the factions trying to adjust their house and see how they can get out before 2027, because the timetable is set for them already, and that story is on page 4.
Of course, this is something that has been a back and forth for a long time. The timetable by INEC is fast approaching, and the PDP seems to be a house not in order. And like we always like to say, when you want to put a formidable opposition in terms of 2027, you must have your house in order. And this is one that I believe before that time they can be able to maybe have a work on it. But for now, PDP is a house that's in this area, and of course the defection has not stopped. just recently we saw the Zamfara State Governor
Yes.
also joining the bandwagon of defectors
Yes.
to the APC, and he pointed out to the fact that it is the fact that the PDP is a house that is in disarray, and that is why he cannot continue to be in that party. And not only him, many other governors we've seen have joined that bandwagon. Even in the National Assembly where you cover, you've seen the wave of defection too, even though some of them did not join the PDP, but we've seen them, did not join the APC, but we've seen them leave the PDP because of this particular rift, and we just hope it is resolved ahead of 2027 so we could have a formidable opposition.
Well, there's a whole lot happening with all of these stories making about hopefully that parties would align with the schedule
Of
that's
INEC.
set by INEC, and of course that's what they're looking at. But let's quickly turn our focus above the nameplates there. We have where it says, strengthen federalism, scrutinize states, LGs, Tinubu tax the media, and we have the rider there that says boldly, it talks about FG moving to confront big tech interference during within the media, threatening the media survival. That story, threatening rather the media survival. That story is on page 5. That's a good one because we have a lot of things happening that needs to. Sometimes you see things on the media and on the socials, and it's generalized that it is the media. Of course, the new media has come in with a whole lot of advantage and disadvantage, which is the concern we need to look at. So most times when I see things that people can be verified,
of course,
with the original media houses who have the authentic or the facts backing things.
Who go to those particular places to cover, unlike people who are on the social media that does go and sometimes spread fake news.
They become citizen journalists themselves.
And that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
But then you have to do it the right way. And of course, with the advent of AI and technology, we've seen doctored videos shared around. So people have got to be very careful what it is you consume. And again, what the president said is about strengthening federalism. Of course, we know the media is one to hold government accountable. They are the fourth estate of the realm, like they like to call them. So they bring the government into account. So I think it's a very good call, and the media has got to do better in holding this government, especially the state government, seeing how they've been able to align with the president's goal of giving the local government autonomy. So the media has done good, and of course I know there's room for improvement. Okay, so just beside that we have another story that says Adiola heads task force on petroleum sector reforms. And then you have the rider there that says panel targets $10 billion liquidity boost to deliver blueprints in 6 months. That story is on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. Let's look at some business stories here. There's one that I know that interests Annie. He says no going back on cashless policy at airport, and that is Festus Keyamo, the Minister of Aviation, speaking with details on page 5. And of course, another story just beside this one, it says dark side of Nigerian women undergoing BBL ribs removal surgeries. Details on page 11. Another story is business. It says just by the left, CBN bars big debtors from new loans banking facilities, with details on page 5.
Also, we also have other stories where it says London property Uzokeme Hussaini presented fake passports, witness tells court. That story is on page 3. Pick up a copy of the paper and get up the details on that. And just below there at the foot, you have says FARC distributes 1.894 trillion naira to FG, states and local government. Story on page 6 of the Nation newspaper. Well, that's it on the Nation newspaper. Let's quickly turn our focus and tell you all the stories making around with the Saturday Vanguard. Saturday Vanguard newspaper has its own lead story where it comes talking about the issue happening around the Middle East. Saturday Vanguard leads with its own story. It says Middle East crisis, Nigeria's poor to face more hardships. And then you have the key candidate that says as expert list impact. And there you have another story there that talks about where it's giving a breakdown. It says, but 30 trillion naira all windfall possible if crude production increases. That's coming from NSESG. And you also have US-Israel strikes intensify. Iran vows continued resistance. That story is on page 8 and also page 31, where you get the details of what all this is about in the Middle East.
Of course, let's go above the nameplate. You see a story that says 13% derivation as the kicker. Governor Basi Otu fights on as new report says Cross River has 119 oil wells, with a rider that says we expect President Tinubu to end delineation injustice against Cross River State ex-lawmaker Obun, with details on page 24. And then beside that story, another story here says Tinubu to media executives, hold state, local governments accountable as you do to me, with details on page 6.
And then you also have below that stories before the nameplate. It says Dangote refinery increases petrol price to 1,175 naira per litre. Story on page 8. And let's come down and talk about stories with the lead story on the front cover that says Northern Group's Middle Belt Forum, Ijaw leaders orders to FG, no political will to disseminate terrorists. We also have it other rather that says government knows the terrorists, their locations, security experts agree with Gumi, repentant terrorists leaking information, 7 senior officers. Story on page 10. Find out what that is talking about.
Now let's stick with security and see a story just below that one by your left. It says attacked by herders, detained by police, double ordeal of a Delta cleric and farmer. That's what the story is saying, and details are on page 13. Is on page 13 of the Saturday Vanguard. And just beside that story, it says Tinubu appoints Fola Adeola new task force chairman, petroleum reforms. Page 7 is where you find details of this particular story.
We also have other stories. There's one story there where it talks about the picture of the FCT minister there. It says 2027 is PDP collapsing because Wike is holding it down for President Tinubu or due to internal crisis. That story is on page 16. Find out what that story is talking about. Well, that's it with the Saturday Vanguard story. Please pick up a copy and get to drive in and see what we have. Let's quickly turn our focus and look at what the Saturday Sun newspaper has for us. The Saturday Sun newspaper leads with its own story, still talking about the issue around the U.S.-Iran conflict, leading the front cover there boldly. There it says, U.S.-Iran conflict, rising fuel prices, spread panic. And you have the writer that says, manufacturers, small business owners lament rising costs. We also have Nigerians grown as transport fares, food costs surge. And we have the next one that comes, it says, why petrol prices may keep rising. All this is on the page 20 of the Saturday Sun newspaper.
That's quite interesting. And let's just take you below that story. You see a story that says 63% poverty rate. APC, ADC at war, with a writer that says increase in poverty rate is Tinubu's scorecard, and that is the ADC speaking. Another writer says you've lost touch with current global realities. Ruling party replies the ADC, with details of the story on page 27. And above the nameplate, you see a story that says Abia APC united to win presidential polls and gubernatorial polls in 2027, and that is Senator Kalu speaking, with details on page 30 of Saturday Sun newspaper.
So a bit of story happening in the aviation sector there. We know the Yulta season had its own interesting hiking aviation fair.
Yes.
That's the airfare rather. Was we had issue raised during that season where a lot of Nigerians talked about the challenges, the insecurity on the roads.
You had to take an alternative.
But right now we have the story where it says airlines to FCCPC. That's talking about the Christmas fare hikes, not price manipulation, because that story has been on. It says operators selling tickets at a loss as Jets A1 rises to 1,800 naira in 2 weeks. That story is on page 26. Find out what the FCCPC is saying to airlines and what the airlines are saying to them.
Yes, it's not my fault, it's my fault, and back and forth and all of that.
And get all of that.
And away from that story, you see a story just beside it. It says Lagos issues 2026 flash flooding red alert, with a writer that says orders Owode, Iwaya, Makoko, other lowland residents to relocate, with details on page 28.
Well, that's sticking to our stories. We also have where it talks about the revenue for 2026. It says FG, states, local governments share 1.894 trillion naira February 2026 revenue. That story is on page 29 of the Saturday Sun newspaper. Well, a bit of what's happening in entertainment. I'm ready to play risky roles in Nollywood. Ada Oyi speaking there. Well, that's a bit of entertainment for it's full of what's happening.
You don't take risks. Sometimes you never rise in life, so sometimes it's good to take risks. Or safe risk, of course.
Save one, of course. That story is there. Let's quickly turn our focus and look at the stories making the rounds with This Day newspaper. This Day newspaper comes with its own lead story, the front cover. A lot of stories leading this paper. Let's start from the lead story, just below the nameplate there, where it says, "No going back on fans' cashless policy," says Kiamo. That story we saw it earlier. We also have where it says, and the story on the political side, it says, "ADC vows strong showing in coming elections despite challenges." I like this dimension. This is coming. I'm going to speak to that, but let's take the rider where it says, Tinubu's poor performance, worsening statistics, deepening poverty, make our acceptance easier. And then we have another one that says, accuses Senate of double standards as Abaribe's defection, and that story is on page 5. Well, I also like this dimension because it was Thursday sitting of Wednesday Thursday sitting at the National Assembly, where ADC had a wave, ADC had a win because of the wave of defection.
Yes.
A lot of lawmakers were moving from their parties to ADC,
yes.
And that is a lot of concerns or questions have been asked. What's it going to be like? Is ADC really becoming that formidable opposition party following the internal issue around the PDP? Of course, the PDP are also trying to find a balance with their internal crisis and fix their house and all that. But the ADC is also coming strong.
Of course, and even the APC, when they did the congresses, people said aggrieved members who did not get what they wanted from that congress could also defect to the ADC as it is. And of course, if you look at the antecedents before now, when the APC was created, that's how it kept up emerging, small, little by little.
And then
before you know it became a wave. So let's see if the ADC can be able to pull that wave. But don't forget, the by-elections and the other elections we saw, the ADC did not do too well, but we hope they have maybe better
Of course,
days.
they could have their plans, but let's leave the story and look at other stories making the round there.
Of course, let's go above the nameplate, and it says, Fola Adeola heads 9-man presidential task force on petroleum reforms. And another story above, it says, Iran war as the kicker, concerns mount in Nigeria, others over looming food shortage, rising inflation, with a writer that says, Trump administration underestimated Iran's war impact on the Strait of Hormuz, says reports.
Okay, so we also have a lead story there that says Tinubu states, that's Tinubu speaking there, states, local governments now have more funds, must deliver at grassroots, be held accountable, and hails Obiagbena on Lekki urges support for new social media platforms. Well, that story is there for you to pick up a copy and find out what's happening. And of course, I had a feature story, President holds interfaith breaking a fast with media executives, where he made the attacks on them, speaking to issues. Well, that's it with This Day newspaper. Let's quickly turn our focus to the Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune newspaper leads with its own story. Still talking about the issue in the Middle East. It says, the lead story there says, the Middle East war disrupts fertilizer supplies, puts food security at risk. We also have the writer that says, Iran's new supreme leader vows revenge, orders Strait of Hormuz closure. And you also have another that says, we are monitoring fuel price volatility. That's FCCPC speaking, and the story is on page 3, 5, and 6.
Please, as you monitor, make sure that it comes down. That's what we want to see with the monitoring and all of that.
So you should favor the man on the street.
Yes. Above that story, above the nameplate, it says, Appeal Court affirms Oloyede as PDP governor candidate in Ekiti State. And away from that, we see another story which is a bit of business. It says Nigeria is in far stronger position to navigate renewed global shocks. CBN governor speaks, and the writer that says hails 200% rise in capital investment inflows in 2 years. Details is on page 6 of the Saturday Tribune newspaper.
Okay, so we also have court bars Aitwa from seeking another term in 2028. That story is on page 22. Well, that story has been...
Yes, it's been on the back and forth.
Yeah.
They said he was there before, which means he's ineligible to contest. But then, let's see. I'm sure he obviously would not rest on his oars. He'll go to a higher court to appeal that judgment. So let's see how it goes.
So let's see the story below the nameplates where the president met with service chiefs. It says Tinubu meets with service chiefs, IGP, and then it says don't lose hope in our capacity. Defense minister pleads with Nigerians. Says terrorists losing grounds, troops fall coordinated terrorist attacks, kill over 20 insurgents in Yobe. Story on page 27. We also have other story just below that. We also have from the legislative arm, it says reps moved to ascertain territorial status of Egba Island. We also have 9 senators defect to ADC, 12 reps join APC, ADC. We also have Tamboa, Aberibe, Kingibe, 6 others join ADC in Senate. Accord, NDC gets 1 each.
And another very interesting and maybe concerning story just beside that one says health scientists warn mobile phones used by food vendors could spread infection.
Okay. Please, I also will look up that story and get details on that.
Honestly, I'm curious.
Because safety is paramount.
That's number 1.
So let's quickly turn our focus. Thank you. That's it with the Tribune. We also look at other stories making the rounds with Saturday Punch newspaper. Saturday Punch newspaper talks on its own. It talks about a different thing, leading, which is basically a different story. It says power crisis, blackout wreaks havoc. We also have where it has its writer that says businesses shut down, households turn to gents amid heat wave. Also have Aso Rock tests 117 billion naira villa solar project. Okay, I don't talk about it, sorry. Pick up a copy and find out what's happening with that. And then I like this human angle story there. It says Night Hawks, travails of Lagos kids trading childhood to survive. That story is really one story you cannot even...
It's concerning.
It's really a concern where a child is supposed to have their life, but trading it just to survive amidst the drama.
Education that is supposed to be given, they're turned to street hawkers, and that's not a good one. It's not something that is speaking well for our nation. We hope we can do better.
Okay.
The Lagos state government in particular.
Okay.
And away from that story, we see a story that says Soludo's threat to end traditional religion wrong. Catholic priest Unegbu, and that's on page 4 of the Saturday Punch newspaper. And then beside that story, another human angle, but it says gunmen burnt my nephew after forcing passengers to identify themselves. And that's an uncle speaking who's bereaved over the loss of his nephew. And just below that story, a bit of business. It says petrol import ban divides marketers after Dangote hikes price. With details on page, that looks like page 6 of the Saturday Punch.
So above the nameplate, let's quickly take the story there. It says storm over Chimamanda's son's death as doctors demand apology. Pick up a copy and find out what's really going on around that story.
Beyond apology.
It's been about apology. There's a whole lot that's happening around Chimamanda's son's death.
And honestly, it is the fact that she is in the public light. That's why I think we're dwelling about it. But medical negligence is something that we've seen happen over time and time again, and it's not a good one. We just hope the people who were culpable in this particular incident get the right punishment or justice that they deserve, and the bereaving family, our hearts goes out to them.
Okay, well, pick up a copy of the paper and find out all the stories making around. Let's quickly turn our focus and take possibly our last paper for the day. I think we have the story coming from the Daily Independent newspaper. Daily Independent newspaper that says leads with its own story, talking about Osun, it talks about Osun when 14 political parties jostle for Governor Adeleke's plum job. That's Saturday Independent newspaper leading with that story. And then that story is on page 8 of the paper, Saturday Independent newspaper. We also have other stories making the round there where it talks about woman delivers quadruplets at FMC Abeokuta, and that's the writer that says FG reaffirms commitment to maternal care. That's that story happening with Saturday Independent newspaper. We also have another story just beside that.
It's a bit of sport. It says Adeboye Onigbende's legacy, integrity, football, and the nation's debt of gratitude. Details on page 20 of the Saturday Independent newspaper. Of course, we know he's a veteran, and he's
the coach who's gone, and his legacy will definitely
of course will be remembered.
Of course, we also have other stories there. Quickly, let's take the story. It says Federal Character Commission to clamp down on job sales, says Honorable Eze. That story is on page 6. We also have other stories making around a test for Nigerian police leadership. Of course, we saw the final handing over, promotions are made in security, speaking, and all that. So that's the story we can really take about that. Let's quickly take this last one. I feel we have a minute to go, where it says era of dormant all licenses over, says NUPRC. Story on page 3 of that paper. Well, that brings us to the end of our dailies today.
Well, we brought to you the latest happening with the newspaper. So whatever story it is you found interesting, do pick up a copy and find out the juicy details for yourself.
Well, there's a lot of story happening from food to health to politics, all the stories making the round where you can pick up a copy and feed yourself. Especially with the issue with the Middle East, which has actually affected the pump price and price of fuel, affecting food, affecting transportation, all of this concerns. Speak up and find out what the government is saying and dealing in handling all of this issue. Well, so many more to come your way on Global Morning. Up next is our discussion segments. Please stay with us.
Up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust a multi-platform news broadcast, real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
At Witchtech Cables, we don't just make cables, we deliver excellence. Our products are built with advanced technology, trusted for their unmatched quality and durability. With a wide range of cables, swift delivery, and continuous innovation, we stay ahead of the market demand. We are proudly Nigerian, fully indigenous, yet world-class. Backed by a professional team, strong technical support, and a deep commitment to customer satisfaction. Witchtech Cables is more than a brand, it's a promise. Witchtech Cables, quality cables, better than the best.
It's good to have you back on the program. Of course, it's still Global Morning. We have a lot, I told you earlier, and we're moving into the discussion segments. I thought it's time to talk about food infrastructure. And that's one discussion we cannot throw away, because we need to look at what people are consuming, how are they able to assess this. All of that is part of what we'll be talking about on this particular segment of the program. Well, our focus basically right now will be looking at food security, Nigeria's agriculture policy implementation outcomes in focus. Where are we? What's happening? And I'll tell you who my guest is shortly. Let me give you the breakdown of what we're looking at basically. Nigeria's agricultural sector is once again under the spotlight as the federal government pushes new reforms amid strengthening food security, reducing dependence on imports, and boosting local production. Well, as the 2026 Ministerial Stakeholders Engagement Retreat on Agricultural Transformation in Abuja, the Minister of Agriculture, and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, outlined what the government describes as major achievements in agricultural policy implementation over the past 2 years. Well, let me give you a breakdown to this, because this implementation includes distribution of 1.9 million bags of fertilizer to farmers. They also had a launch of 2,000 tractors under the mechanization program. We also have 65 improved crop varieties for climate resilience. We also had 250 billion credit facility through the Bank of Agriculture, strategic food reserves to stabilize prices, and new agro-industrial processing zones to boost value chain. But the big question remains, are these policies translating into real food security for Nigerians? That's one question a lot of Nigerians have asked. How close? We've seen these policies, we've seen these reforms, we've seen you do this, but are the people feeling this in terms of food security? Well, today we'll take a closer look at the Nigeria's agricultural policy implementation outcome, and joining me to speak to this issue and speak to how the minister looked at this is the Secretary General of the Maize Association of Nigeria in person of Sunday Bamidele, to analyze the minister's speech and what it means for farmers and consumers. It's good to have you join me on the program today, sir.
Thank you for having me.
It's interesting, you're not just the secretary, you have a vast knowledge on the agricultural sector. One of the reasons why I feel it's great for you to speak to this issue. But let's begin with the policy direction outlined by the minister. According to the government, agriculture remains central to national stability and economic growth. The administration says it is strategy focuses on boosting local production, strengthening value chains, supporting smallholder farmers, expanding mechanization, improving storage and processing capacity. The government also claims that food prices have dropped by as much as 50% nationwide, attributing this to increased production and policy intervention. But let's look at the farmers' perspective to all of this, and also the Middle East crisis, which is happening right now. However, these farmers and agricultural stakeholders say input costs, insecurity, climate change, and post-harvest losses continue to threaten food supply. Again, let's talk about this whole idea. What's your focus, basically, with all of this set by the minister and the challenges the stakeholders have raised as their concerns?
Once again, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
In years, Global TV, fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Thank
You're
you.
farmer friendly.
Thank you.
The government, yes, the policy of government is beautiful on paper.
Okay.
I'm a product of that ministry, and I know that food security is central to it. The government has achieved, yes, food production has increased, but to the detriment of the farmers. The prices have so gone down that the farmers are lamenting. And fertilizer, which is the core, particularly maize production, which is the major input in maize production, the prices are so high. And remember, last planting season, the farmer were thinking, with the hope that they will recoup their money. But sincerely speaking, yes, price crashed. And why? Because of the importation. I am very much aware that the government won the importation for a short period of time, but being whom we are, we capitalize on those loopholes. And now the farmers cannot recoup their money invested in production.
Okay.
And therefore, a bag of maize, which used to be 100,000, between 80,000 to 100,000 per 100 kg, it's now between 28, 30. And how do you expect a farmer to make? It's not a good news for the farmers.
Yeah, it's not a good news, basically.
But for the prices, yes, the prices have gone down. Prices have gone down. Perfect. I remembered that government is always have been the buyer of last resort. This is the period the government is supposed to come in and mop up these excess grains. Yes, what was the economical production? Economical production is how much did you spend totally, including transportation, harvesting, insurance, per hectare of land. Now, if it is 700,000, the government puts a little percentage on it to encourage the farmers to go back to farm next season. But here we are, they left the farmers at the detriment of the market forces. Now they cannot, but we encourage the government to go back to that issue of buyer of last resort.
Okay.
Last resort.
Last resort.
Which means no other sources, but they are the one. And they pick it, stock in the strategic food reserve. That is one of the reasons why strategic food reserve was established.
But if it was established, how has it helped the farmers, basically? Because like you said, food prices has dropped. But the concern is it has dropped, but how has it also helped the farmers who till the soil in getting back good refund? Because there's labor there, there's transportation, all of that. So I'm thinking for them, you should be able to get something meaningful at the end of the day when you have your harvest season, and then when you take to the market, you should have something. But if the prices, I don't think it's encouraging.
It is not indeed. But before now, the farmers has direct access to that department.
Okay.
They give purchasing order. Even the local farmer, the contractor who supplies, they will direct you. Why they do that then was that there is traceability. If you bring in grains that is not good, they know the farmer. They know the source.
So they know who to meet.
They know who to hold responsible.
And there's accountability.
There's accountability.
Wow.
And before agreeing, then it's received into the silo. There are a lot of tests. Aflatoxin, pest infestation, and the grain must not be older than a year.
Oh, okay.
So the farmer has opportunity to go back to the farm.
Okay. Well, if he has opportunity, but let's look at the issue around the fertilizer distribution, which also helps, because I was at the sitting where the issue we talked about the budgetary allocation and all that. But let's talk about the minister listed several achievements, including the fertilizer distribution, improved seeds and mechanization programs. From the perspective of the maize farmers across Nigeria, how would you assess the implementation of these policies in terms of the distribution of the fertilizer and how that has also helped with the improved seeds? Because seeds, if you have good seeds, it also help.
Yeah.
If you have good fertilizer, we can help your crops to grow. It should help. So let's talk about that basically.
Yes, the fertilizer issue. One of the great mistakes is when this fantastic government for farmers, we supported this government, but when they came in, maybe they sold it different because of their corporals.
Okay.
You don't throw away the baby with bathwater. No policy is perfect, 100%. All you need to do, seek the whole thing. The list of farmers who got loans in the ABP are there, but now they do away with the associations.
Oh, yeah.
And they were dealing directly with the government, the state governors.
Okay.
And remember, each state governor during their campaign has different type of promises for their
Of course, everybody has something to meet the audience.
But for farmers, if this thing had come back and amended the policy on anchored and say, okay, you are the farmers group, we've been enjoying good relationship with Federal Minister of Agri. They're fantastic. In fact, they are our parents.
That's good.
The Maize Association started from that ministry.
Yes.
So all along they've been carrying us. But this fertilizer, probably, I'm not saying generally, in some states, do not get to the right farmers.
Okay.
The maize.
So the middleman tends to hold back.
Yes.
There's a middleman challenge.
Yes.
That holds.
So when the governor, and you know some of the states, some are APC, some are PDP, some are this thing, and this political something is there. But in the association, nobody cares about which party belongs to.
Okay.
So this has really caused the farmers, maize farmers are not really happy. And we've made it known to our people that, look, we know probably the information did not get to the government, and fantastic ministers.
Okay, so I've seen the ministers drive and try to get the people, the farmers themselves. They try to take steps, go to different stakeholder meetings, sit the farmers, sit different body associations. But let's talk about the mechanization in terms of the tractors, basically. How well has this also helped your farmers in ensuring that there's food security and there's ease of farming for them?
You know, the greatest problem we have in food production in Nigeria is land preparation.
Okay.
And you know the type of soil we have. We need heavy machineries, and the tractors, the equipment are not enough. But for the launch, we were invited. In fact, we had the privilege. We were one of the 3 commodity associations invited. But the policy around this equipment now through the Bank of Agri is that you must come as a cluster, as a group, and give to you. And we've applied.
Okay.
And we want to plead with the minister. He's a fantastic minister. In fact, we call him in the night. He picks all the ministers and the farm sec. They listen to us, and we've made a case known that, look, we produce this. Forget what has happened, draw a line and give us this thing. So the launch of the contractor is good.
Okay.
And we hope we will benefit
from it.
Yes.
Okay. So I like the fact that you've spoken about their mindsets and how they've been able to meet up with all the demand. But let's look at food price claims so far. Well, the government says food prices have dropped by up to 50% nationwide. From your interaction with your farmers and the markets, does this reflect the reality on ground? I'm referring this to what we have right now, ongoing in the country. Yes, from the past. Initially, we're having the slow pace, but now we have something new that has come out to play. Do you think food price has also fallen in line with the recent crisis, or is it still at the same price of reduction for 50%?
Now, yes, the prices have dropped to the detriment of the farmers.
Okay, but to the benefits of the consumers.
The consumers
Who have to eat.
Yes.
But I was told beans, cowpea, that used to be a certain price. I think it was around 800 thereabouts, but now it's around 1,000 plus, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, because of the present crisis in the...
And that's what I'm referring to.
Yes, and we know it is just temporary.
Okay.
Surely it will come to pass.
Okay.
We've had this issue of Middle East, of this thing. You remember Ukraine war?
Yes.
Yes.
It's also a factor.
Of our urea, we don't have it yet.
Okay.
So definitely, by the time the tension comes down, the price will stabilize. My fear, one of the large commodity we use is maize for children food, baby food, cornflakes.
Yes.
If the government not uptake what is, the farmer will not be encouraged to go back to farm this planting season. I have said it, and I'm part of. I'm a product of that. Yes, and I wouldn't want such a thing where we'll be importing. Once upon a time in this country, the US gave us grains. We rejected it free. We said no because our farmers
were capable of
producing. We were capable and made it. And in 2020 or 2021, FAO report, Nigeria overtook South Africa, became the largest producer of maize. So why are we not doing this? America, I went to America to study the food grain handling. America buy excess grains. They mop it up, buy it. In fact, at times they throw them into the lagoon, to the sea, just to encourage the farmers to go back to the farm.
Well, I like the fact that you said, you made it very categorical. You said food price has dropped to the detriment of farmers, but to the benefit of all. Because Nigerians are looking for consumables where food is no longer a challenge, where food is affordable. But I'm also concerned where that food is easy to access, but the farmers should also benefit for the hard work they put in to benefit. But let's still stay with the fertilizer. The ministry also says it's distributed 1.9 million bags of fertilizer. Nearly 1 million farmers got this. For maize farmers specifically, has fertilizer access improved?
Yes and no.
Okay.
The fertilizer is available, but it's expensive. That is the no aspect.
Okay.
Yes, a bag of NPK, which is the basic NPK, which is the basic food, is about 64 last year, and now this year is around going to 55. And for 1 hectare,
how do you get that across the hectare?
That is because the farmer doesn't. You see, when the government, yes, statistics can talk on paper, but the real problem is the farmers cannot afford these prices.
So how do we make it affordable for the farmers? Because the government has said they've given this a particular amount, 1.9 million.
Sure.
They've given that.
Yes.
So is that a subsidized price, or how is this able to get? That's what I'm looking at.
Yes,
that's why I asked, from your farmer's perspective, how accessible, if it's available from the government, have saying this has gone out. Have you been able to get it?
Yes, so in fairness to the state, to the government, they gave this to the state government. Some of the state government gave it to the farmer as a subsidized.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because what is 1,000 or 1 million plus fertilizer to what? Divide, if it's NPK, divide 1 million, 1 point something or 2 million by 4 bags. That is for 1 hectare.
Okay.
That's just for NPK. And you need 2 bags of urea.
To also
for top up, we call it top up just to this thing. So if you divide it, you see that it's still just a drop in the ocean. For now, they have done well. They gave it to the state government. The state government reduces, subsidizes, so that the farmers can get, yes, but they can still do
more than that.
Yes.
Okay, so we've talked about the farmers having access to fertilizer. Let's look at the farmers in terms of inputs. And the minister spoke about the inputs and all that. So are the farmers getting the inputs in good time to help augment the work they do?
That is one of the challenges we had during the ANCO.
Okay.
Late arrival of input. Particularly, agric is time bound.
True, it is.
And if we are to plant, for instance, you are to apply fertilizer today for maize, and you leave it till tomorrow, you lose 7 kg of what you're supposed to get. But for the quality of input, fantastic. NASC, which is Seed Council,
yes,
they monitor the seeds.
No, they do. I keep touching them as well.
Fantastic. I'm very sure, and I know them. Then the fertilizer, the fees, monitor the type of fertilizer. Okay. There is this control now, but the people, they don't produce. The input supplier do that, and I think they have association. Now they should probably, by now we're supposed to have enough fertilizer on ground. The seed is a living thing.
Yes,
so they have to be careful the time they produce it. So we will soon be there. We will get there.
Okay, I like the positive mindset.
Yes,
we'll soon be there and we'll get there, because of course this government has been speaking on the issue of food security, and I like the implementation of the policies put out. But one key focus, like we mentioned earlier, is the tractors, because I know other stakeholders, someone mentioned the issue about remanufacturing here in Nigeria. Do you think that is visible, and how soon can that start to play, so that it's, like you said, the tractors are not enough?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when will we get to the stage where we have enough of tractors or mechanization made easy for farmers to be able to put their farming together?
You see, when I left college about 48 years ago, and behind my college was the Kogidis, our steel company.
Yes.
Yes. Some of my seniors worked there, what they call the steel company. This steel, Ajakuta steel. Yes. So, you see, because we left that this thing. But I remember as a young boy who was born in the north, still in Bauchi, all those in Bauchi, Fiat in Kaduna, very close to our house. We definitely, I am hopeful. It may not be as soon as we think, but I know we will get there. And that is why the present ministers and the present government are trying to revive Ajakuta. And once the raw materials are there, the income in a lorry, they are there, they can, they're my colleagues, and I know what they can do there. And I know the ministry can, the government can. It's just the willpower. And one of our greatest problems is policy inconsistency.
Okay, because that you just took that out of my mouth. I was about to ask that, because government is supposed to be a continuum. Where policies are in place, the next person that comes in looks at what has been done, how far that process has taken place, and what fresh policies should come in to play. Because this issue of tractor has been for far too long. As far as I've known, understanding what it is, it's far too long. So the question Nigerians are asking, or everyone is asking, is what more can be done so that farmers or farming system in the country becomes easy? Because we've seen this happen in Brazil, we've seen it happen across different countries, where farming is more like the government job we do, or the daily jobs we do. Someone was speaking to me on the program, and she said Nigeria should have a one-day set aside for farming, where all Nigerians should go back to the farm. With that, food security should be at a standpoint, and we shouldn't. Yes, we have the issue of insecurity, which is a concern, but it's actually a work in progress where some of these. But can we have ourselves start feeding ourselves? What's it called now? Food sufficiency by you feeding yourself by going back to the farm, so that narrative can change. So I'm turning back to you. What more can be done to ensure that we have seamless food supply in the nation through mechanization?
I was in US in 2008, a father and a son. Their farm is big, almost as big as Lube, the whole of Lube. Just father and son were mechanized.
True.
Mechanized. You can just sit down here and be watching what is happening in your farm. I know government should just, probably we can put this in our constitution. I say probably, I'm not in the National Assembly. So that there wouldn't be, this is, my party is now in power, you change what has been done or this. If you can just insert that in our constitution so that there will be continuity. That I know when I was in college, the egg we ate, we produce the egg. And I never knew I would study agriculture. It was in this school I had my own farm. Those were boys only. Some of my mates will be looking at me. We produce our chicken, produce our eggs. And because it was something we met there.
Yes, as a practice.
Yeah, so if we can insert these policies that make it permanent, you know, we are in democracy. And except we see, the man can tell you, well, that is not my party's manifesto.
But food is central to everybody. So
Absolutely.
that's one thing I want us to look at. That's why I'm talking about these policies and how this can be implemented, and it can get to the common man, and it can understand that whether there's when there's flow of food, the person is okay.
The stomach doesn't know party.
Exactly. Once one is hungry, anger comes to play, and all hell is let loose on all that. Right. But let's look at the value chain and the agribusinesses. Basically, the minister also highlighted in the course of his stakeholders engagement that the development of several agricultural value chains, including the rice, maize inclusive, wheat was also part of it, cassava, soya beans, all palm, that's all palm, cocoa. These are expected to transform farming from subsistence to agribusinesses. So my question to you now is, from your vantage point as a leader in the maize sector, how effective has the government been in supporting the maize value chain development? Because we look at the value addition of these food crops.
For maize, I can say that with apology to Minister of Agri, it seems they have bias towards us.
Oh, really? I thought it was supportive. I thought they were parents.
Yeah, that's why, we know as Ministry of Agriculture that parents do up so many.
Yeah.
But it seems to have enjoyed more.
Okay.
Because we know there's a desk for maize.
Okay, I get it now. Okay.
Maize value chain. And nothing given out that they won't consult.
Okay. So what happens to others who are not?
The equipment, you see, before, our people don't know that they are being cheated. When you just carry your grains, take it to just like that without adding. Do you know that we have ethanol from maize? Okay. That is value. It is. So the equipment, they're just bringing in the equipment, and we make this. You can have cottage industry in your parlor.
Okay.
Just small. I think Minister of Agri make that. They give on you. They have it. They even distribute it to farmers, so that you don't just say like the maize. We said they're available now. We can say, oh, if we have enough these small cottage industries, I can bring what do you call it? Semovita.
Yeah.
Two of us can join together. We rent a room. We start with parboil. Process it, package it, go to NAFDAC, and then this is yes. And the Federal Ministry of Agri can do that. I'm so sure. Okay. Yes, because we were asked to request. We were asked to request for the equipment for distribution. Though it's not enough.
But at least has gotten somewhere.
Started, yes.
Okay. I like the fact that this is speaking, but let's look at, we've heard about the special agro-industrial processing zones designed to reduce post-harvest losses and promote food processing. Will these projects truly transform agriculture? That's that from that for us. Or are they still largely at the policy stage? Because like we talked about policy implementation, we have policy statements, we have the implementation part of this. So at this at policy stage.
You see, this agro-processing zone is a beautiful
initiative.
Yes. Where I have maize, you need it. Within the same place. I don't need to start looking for a trailer from North to Carry. We are all in an ecosystem.
Okay.
You need my maize, I produce the maize, you process it, I use it to feed this animal. So that
how it's supposed to go round.
10 years.
Okay.
So everything, just like you go to Aba market, whatever you want, if it's leather, you get it. The shoe, you get it there. That
makes it seamless.
Yeah, exactly. And the wastage will be reduced.
True.
And unfortunately, I know when I was in service, this thing has been on drawing board. I know the Minister of State very well, Dr. Sabi. He has been part of us, and I know his passion. And the PAMSEC, I know most of them, and God giving them long life and come back, I know they will move from the policy stage to full implementation.
Okay, so because I was about turning back to it to say, is it still a policy stage?
Yes.
But you just confirmed that to me. That is because like I said, if this is actually in place, it will transform definitely the agricultural system.
Very.
Makes it seamless. You move from one point to the other, and you just easily get it across. Hopefully, it gets past that stage. But let's talk about smallholder farmers, because the accessibility to credit is very important. So since smallholder farmers who are still struggling at getting access to facilities, credit facilities, smallholder farmers produce the majority of Nigeria's food on a daily. They till the soil, they ensure that they get that. The government says it has introduced 250 billion credit facility, 250 billion naira facility through the Bank of Agriculture.
True.
Subsidized inputs through the National Agricultural Growth Scheme. They've also strengthened cooperatives. So are smallholder farmers actually able to access these funds and programs which are the initiative of the government through the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security?
This, I want to tell you, I want to speak this. No smallholder farmers, 75% of smallholder farmers, because the criteria laid down by Bank of Agri, no way.
So they don't have access to it?
You cannot, because you see, we approached Bank of Agri. The MD is a fantastic human being. He knows this thing and is very blunt to you. He will tell you. But the conditions, smallholder farmer, you ask him to, the Land Use Act.
Yes.
And the inheritance system.
Yeah.
You ask a smallholder farmer who produces 20 bags, that is 2 tons of 100 kg, to bring a certificate of CFO. If he has that, he would rather go and
sell it than bring it to you, of course.
And these are the people that produces what we eat. Look, except we want today, we should relax this. Yes, we've made mistake in anchor borrowers.
Of course we did.
Mistake is to learn.
It's to learn, of course, because if you don't make mistakes, how do you learn?
Because something happened in the anchor borrowers program, and you say you are not ready to deal with the associations. What do associations do is come together. You can now, I insist that make it better that these people will hold them responsible.
That's the association.
The association, yes. You can do that. And for those who took, we agree our farmers, some didn't pay back. Absolutely. Which is wrong, which absolutely wrong.
Okay.
Because if you don't pay back, how will the others
be able to assess the funds?
This thing? Okay. But we can now find a way to correct this. If we continue to say we won't deal with the commodity associations where the smallholders are under, then we may not get there. We'll continue to import, and our reserve, we suffer for it. Why we'll still be battling with insecurity. 2019, we didn't buy any food. We didn't import food. And we fed
ourselves. That's why I talk about the feeding ourselves.
So, and it's still the same set of these smallholder farmers. So I will encourage, I will tell the government, like the CBN governor and Bank of Agri, let them sit down and look at this thing again. Panabit the policy. You may not call it Anchor Borrowers program, but call it something where the farmer, the smallholder farmer, the man with 2, 3, 4 hectares. They suggested we should have cluster. It is with our land system, with inheritance system, land use act. You can't just come when I can't go in my own place. My mother is from the lower end. I can't just go there. I can't go there as I want. I have to start going through my own code. There are things I will do. We are
ask questions.
Yes. So
And
they let them look
guided.
at this so that Agric ministry is fantastic. The policies are there, I'm very much aware. And the leadership, present leadership in Agric, I know them very well and they are doing well.
Okay, I like the fact that you're able to break this down, because I was going to ask you about the bureaucratic challenges limiting participation of the smallholder farmers in getting all of this. And then, yes, I like the fact that you also agree to the fact that there were mistakes made in the green program, getting this credit access, which would have made it seamless for the government to say, okay, these farmers understand the protocol, they can return the funds. Because if there are no access to credit, how would these farmers be able to get what they need to make the food also available for every other person to also look at it and get to feed or consume, and then the nation is food safe or food secured. But let's also look at one other challenge the farmers always have in the course of the farming process. And actually that always comes in is the post-harvest losses, especially with foods like the grains of maize. We have the post-harvest loss. So what policies should governments prioritize to address this issue of the post-harvest losses that comes in full?
Yes, the losses begins right from the farm.
Okay, so let's understand that.
Yes. When you want to harvest, you know, we use this, most of our smallholder farmers, they use local maize.
Okay.
And some of the part of what is grains, some will remain on the farm. That is the beginning of losses. And if you don't plant at the right time, you don't use the right seed, the land preparation too. If you don't use the right equipment, you've started.
The loss starts from there.
Perfect. Now, we say post-harvest, the combined harvesters, how many farmers can do that? We need small. If you look at the Chinese people and India, their harvesting machines are small, where you can push with hand.
Okay, like the plowing.
Yes, we have it. Yes, you can see somebody, wife, father, mother, and children, just be pushing it. And once it's filled, you upload it into the wheelbarrow. That is how we can. And another thing is drying. We wait until the grain dries on the farm.
But is it supposed to be that way? Because I've also had the privilege to plant corn. I used to have it in my backyard.
Oh, sure.
So when I plant, I know when you go check for the weeds and you take out the weeds and you check your farms. That's my own small farming.
Yes.
And then you put in the corn, and when they grow, your lights get mature and stay. And then when you want to use for the local food like the pap, and that your light dry from the farmland, then you get it out, prepare it, take it for the blending. And then you process.
You see, if you look at the tomatoes, perishable.
Okay. Yes.
The right time to harvest your tomato is not when it's red, no. It is when it's about from green. It's about changing from green to
red.
Start red. That is the right time. Because when it starts getting ripened, it's getting spoiled.
Oh, so it's overripe.
Oh, yes.
And then sometimes you have the beds feast on it.
So, like the grains, once you have portable dryers, once you look at the maize, it's matured, you can harvest, get it dried, and you save. You can now, you get your portable sheller, you put it. I know the ministry used to have it in those days. We do.
Okay.
They give it up, but you know, the population is increasing.
So I was about asking that because we have a large population of people and farmers.
Like when like my son is getting married, he will have children.
Of course.
But because you see, with our what do you call it? Planning, we fail to plan because you know, when did we do population census last? That is the thing.
So those are the things we need to have.
Those are the things we supposed.
So we need to have proper data.
Yes.
Proper, you know.
Yes. That Babidele has 3 kids. That maybe the last one is a guy. He was going to marry, and he's going, and his son.
So there's expansion.
We have to expansion. So which means we have to increase the number of treasure. If this young man is going to plant behind this thing, what quantity, what number of treasures do we have to prepare for Bamidele, for his brothers, for others like that. Okay. So even if we don't get 100%, at least we approach 65, we continue that way. And that is why we have problem of power.
Power is a major concern as well, because it's also, before you joined us, we had on the municipal review where we talked about the issue, talked about food challenges and business owners, which includes farmers, of course, who process and take to the farm, to the markets rather. True. So hopefully we get to have policies which will be translated to implementation and help solve all of these post-harvest losses. But one other concern Nigerians still talk about is this issue of insecurity and the security around the farmers. Despite policy's efforts, Nigeria still faces significant challenges in food production, in the sense that this includes the climate challenge, the insecurity in farming communities, rising input costs, limited irrigation, poor infrastructure, that's rural infrastructure, because from the rural points you get this food moved into the urban side where food consumption, I was from my hometown, and then I saw farmers go to the farm and put in, it used to be, the mindset used to be that at the rural points, food is affordable and accessible. But these days, you have people in the rural community cry because of the infrastructure. Sure. So in your view, what remains the biggest obstacle in achieving food security in Nigeria today, looking at this lineup of challenges we've mentioned so far?
This insecurity is here to stay with us.
So should we just stay?
It's already here. We have to manage it. Okay. We just have to. I was in a farm in Niger State where they slaughter our security. They slaughter. We have, because we can. Some of us have to jump into the river and learn how to swim. We were there, and when they did that, when they got this, it was our security man. We put him there so that he can scare these people.
Yes.
When they slaughtered him, they set the farm on fire. But let me tell you, we still manage to feed ourselves. God loves this country. What is happening here, if it happens in another country, we'll be at work by now. So, for the security, we have, God is helping us, at least we are into smart agriculture. The issue of this, where you plant this year, what we call farm rotation, where you move from one dish to another. We have now good inputs that you can plant 4 or 5 years on a particular soil. So the issue of moving from here to another farm where people will attack you, as I think the government is doing well, but the scientists have developed a lot of inputs that you can plant your maize 3-4 times a year. That's what this smart agri, we know, and we have maize that can grow for 60 days, maize seed, 60 years. And you see, once upon a time we have different. This rural road. Yes. I think Federal Ministry of Agri have a department of rural road that they should look at that and really resuscitate. I don't want to say more than that, I know, but funding.
And climate challenge, because that's one thing, because you have desertification challenges, you have the what's the word in the east where they have irrigation and what they call it, these erosion challenges, and then this is the planting season, we're getting to the rains are coming, especially for the north central part of this coming in. So I'm looking at those challenges. How would the farmers navigate through all of this to still be able to get their desired outputs at the end of the day when it comes to harvesting?
That is nature. That is where what we need to do, to me, I read a lot and I make sure I study this thing. We have this department, a government agency, who tells us when to plant, when you are expecting flooding, and the type of seed crops you can plant to withstand flooding. Okay. And in the East, it is the soil, the practice. We have to help ourselves. You cannot continue to dig soil, say you want to build house, you went to the river and start digging the sand. You go and sell, there's repercussion. The sharp sand, you want sharp sand, and you are digging it, and you know population. So definitely, the topsoil will be washed away, and these are things. And we know the government and those scientists are developing a lot of smart system where you can control, where we can manage these problems.
Okay, well, I like that, but there's one thing I always want to talk about: inclusivity in agriculture. That has to do with the young minds and women.
Yes.
Of course, in agriculture, to see how that can help in promoting that. But we have the SOFON for this women farmers. We also have the young, I think, young agriculture system there as well. That was the ministry also highlighted programs aimed at youth and women empowerment in agriculture, including the agribusiness training, the gender responsive extension services. You mentioned smart climate agriculture. That's the climate smart farming initiative, which is one of the reasons or ways to bring about the inclusiveness of youth and women. But are young Nigerians showing greater interest in agriculture today? Because mechanization would have made it seamless. So is the interest there? Because nobody wants us to go back to tilling the soil with a hoe. I did that using the hoes.
Nobody wants to. That's why our parents, you see, most of them work with their
hands because of the energy, the strength they use in ensuring that these farms, get them the result of what to feed.
Well, I want to tell us, I told you we benefit. In our own association, we have women leaders.
Okay, good.
We have for the South, we have for the North. In fact, for the North, Niger State produced that. It's by election. We don't compromise. It's women, Okay. And for the South, she's from Cross River. Now, for the youth, we have youth leader.
Good.
You can't pick me as a youth leader. Because how will I wear that? Which youth is that? So we have that. And when the Ministry of Agriculture have not been, they will write to us, give us seed.
Okay.
And specifically, in their letter, they will tell you 25%
for the youths.
25 or 35% to the, you can't change.
So there's an inclusive policy.
Inclusive, that is for us, and that's why we say within the children of enemies of agri,
you seem to get more of the attention.
Yes, because they will specifically tell us and this, and for I want to encourage the young ones the easiest way to get rich is through farming. But
the why I asked if we were interested is the easiest way. But I've seen farmers or young people who have interest in farming.
Yes.
Let's not look at the maize right now. Let's look at those who have interested in fishery.
Yes.
Aquaculture. We also have those who also want to do the poultry.
Even snail
and all of that. Accessibility to farmlands. Because you have people who live in estates,
who
live in environments where they said you cannot plant, you cannot farm in this challenge. So they need access to this land. They need access to credit facilities and all of that. But we've talked about the bottlenecks hindering all of these things. So how would that work out for the young people?
I think government, that was a time government said they was going to have we call it, I may not be right, this thing, farm village.
Yes, there's a time that word was mentioned.
Farm village, where the government will clear the land.
But has it been a reality today?
That is the question. I know Kwara State with